evening, everyone. I am here looking around at it. Looks like we're hitting live there. Looks like we're hitting on Facebook. First time with a little setup here, so trying a few things out. And as always, we will just see how it goes. So here we go. We got that. These are read-onlys. And tell you what, I'm just going to pull my phone up right here and see if I can actually get this. You know, I'm getting a lot of reverb in my headphones here, and I'm kind of wondering if it's has to do with the microphone or if it has to do with just the headphones. So kind of wondering where that's at. But we will see. We will see. Uh-oh. Yeah. You can hear the audio through the phone, so I turned that off there. So anyways, I'm trying to see if I can see who chimes in here or not. That way I can kind of interact with people a little bit more. One way or the other. So this is fun. This is new. Different things. Anyway, so today has been a little bit of just filled with technical challenges the whole day. So, you know, that's just part of it, especially when you're dealing with technology. But it's good. It's good. It's one of these things when you're working on things, you're figuring them out and working through it. And that's part of it. Let me adjust this microphone here. Hold on. Okay, like I said, technical challenges. It's there we go. There we go. Way better. That way, relax, get kind of a nice position, work it out here. Got some kinks happening, and that's all right. Give me 1 second here. Ooh, that was a little loud. All right, turning that down as well. There we go. We are getting it going. So, anyways, it's it's kind of interesting. I wonder if this reverb I'm getting is from all the technology around or what per se. I don't know if you can hear it on that, and I probably won't actually know till I finish the stream, but that's okay. So I wanted to hop in here and just kind of do this. This is day 5, day 6, somewhere in there. And so it's been fun. It's been fun doing some different things. I think this will be my permanent setup from now on. I'm going to work to fix a few things, make it a little bit more, shall we say, adaptable. Fix background a little bit, the camera, the lighting, all of that. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like it. It's coming through and we're getting things rolling. So one of the common themes that I've had over the last few days has been, people get really, really worried about doing different things, and to the point that they never do them. And yeah, I know it would be great if I had everything just rolling perfect and, everything was just hunky-dory, but, it just is what it is. So sometimes you get better as you go, and part of the process is you got to get the reps in. So it's much like going to the gym. You don't do crazy workouts right out of the gate. Maybe you do. Some people try to. They usually don't last. But instead, what normally happens is that you get better. There's a process to things. There's a process, and it takes doing the reps over and over and over again in order to gain mastery, in order to gain proficiency. Whew, man, I can't talk in here. I feel like it's a little stuffy, a little warm or something. I apologize. So anyways, that's kind of part of what I'm doing, part of getting those reps in. And, it's just, it is what it is. So. All right. So anyways, tonight's going to be a little bit fun. I'm obviously just doing some different things. And, so this whole week I've been thinking, I was like, you know what? It would be cool because there's quite a few people out there who follow stuff on social media. And it's so depressing, actually. Like it's really pretty wild how many people follow stuff that just makes them miserable. And the whole week I've wanted to pull up some different posts and talk about those and share some of my favorite people, and then just see like what do people's what do their Facebooks look like, what do their Instagrams look like, because mine, for instance, is full of literally inspirational, motivational. I just pulled it up here. I'm looking at it on the computer. I've got a picture of just like traveling, beaches, water, just massively cool stuff. And I love it. And I think it's so underrated because social media can be this thing that stresses you out insanely. But if you'll learn and you'll make it work for you, then of course it can be really powerful. It can be something that is awesome, that you love and really works. But of course, if not, then it's not going to be great at all. And so it keeps a lot of people stressed out. It keeps them stuck in comparison. As they say, comparing is despairing. And so, of course it is. Of course, if you see all these people that have stuff and you're somebody who is committed to living in FOMO the whole time, then how do you think you're going to live? Of course, you're going to be stuck in FOMO. Of course, you're going to be thinking about all the stuff that you're not doing. And chances are you're thinking about it precisely because you're not doing it. But if you were doing the things that you knew that you should do, the behaviors that you knew would make you unbreakable, that would bring you unbreakable success, and you just did those consistently and daily, well, what would your life be like? You wouldn't be watching people on social media feeling like you're missing out. You would actually be taking part and taking place in those sorts of things. So of course that's what we want to do for you. That's what we want to do for our life. And it always amazes me how many people actually do that. Let me see real quick. One of my buddies is sending me a new truck he just got. He's getting married in June, and he's super excited and texting me stuff, and it's kind of fun. So anyways, I'm just keeping this casual, guys. But I want to go back to this idea of FOMO, this idea of how people's social media is. And instead of them allowing it to be this beautiful, wonderful thing that brings all this goodness and inspiration and motivation and tools and tactics, because I learn a ton from social media. I would say my primary learning platform at this point has actually been YouTube. And I switched that over for several reasons. Primarily is YouTube is probably my biggest focus of this year. And I haven't really started putting out content in the way that I want to, or that I'm putting out consistently. But I will say that I've been working sort of on the back end, on the back side of things, to really develop out what I'm working on, work to learn how I'm putting things out, learning all about the hooks and all about structures and really how you bring a message that engages people. And it's been a learning process for those of you that know me. I like going into the details, man. I get heavy, fast, and it's easy for me to talk about nitty-gritty stuff. Yet oftentimes that doesn't captivate people as much. It's actually hearing stories. And so I'm endeavoring to get better, telling stories, working on stories, and bringing some of that to bear. So let me go over here. I just got my buddy just sent me a friend request on Facebook, and he's gonna be popping on in here maybe. So that'd be kind of cool. This is my first time using Restream, and so hold on, where are we at here? Apparently, I do not know how to do this because it's showing me there was some follows, but I'm like, all right, well, where are you at? There we go. Boom, boom. All right, got it. Got it. So yeah, it's one of those bigger things that I'm personally endeavoring towards over this year, and I've got a lot of stuff that I'm working on currently. So calendar's full, just crushing things left and right. And I think people undervalue processes and systems a lot of the times. And so what they do is they get so enamored, and I see people like this all the time. They'll go out and they'll focus so much on today that, I heard somebody say online, and I'm paraphrasing, and I sort of added to this quote that no is the most powerful word in the English language, and now is the most expensive. And it is. Now can be the most expensive because people are sacrificing what they want most now for what they really want. And so they go out and they get enamored by pursuing these short-term, small-term things, and they fail to put the systems in place and put the processes in place so that they can actually get the things that they really want and do the things they really want to do. Oh, hey, what's up, Tyler? I'm just seeing this. Okay, that was really late. I see that came from YouTube. All right. First time using Restream. So I got one chat here, but it kind of disappears if I select anything else. So that's learning process, guys. Learning process. So yeah, what people want is important. And so the more that you can, have the ability to, man, what is the word I'm searching for? It's a little late. This is not even a difficult one. The ability to put off pleasure, the ability to not see the results of what you're working for, and you can just do the work. If you can just put the systems in place, you can build the stuff that obviously you have to get feedback along the way. You have to iterate. I'm a big believer on iterating and building along the way. But the more that you can focus and you can build those foundations and build those systems, you'll be amazed at what you can do and how much you can scale, because then you start to get leverage. Then you can start to actually do massive things in your life. Delayed gratification is what I was thinking about. Who knows, guys? It's been a long day. But it is like that. It is like that. The more that you can put what you want off immediately, and you can actually leverage that for a long-term goal, then you can do big things, and you'll be surprised at how much leverage you can get and where all you can go. So, I suppose all that could be summed up into impulse control and how much you can have of that. So many people are stuck in the daily grind that they can't actually get out of that. They can't give themselves the leverage, the permission, and all these other little things to get out of that daily grind and to realize that. So I just saw somebody online, and I follow a bunch of sales dudes. I love sales. I love all of that stuff. It's really important. You need to be killer at sales. But you know what's better than being killer at sales? Being so well known that you can suck at sales and still make a ton of sales. Because there's a lot of people out there that learned marketing at a very high level. And ultimately, I think we all learn how to close in our own ways. Some people are better at it than others. But there are a lot of people out there that learned how to market in such a big way that they make it so easy to make those sales, man. Because they lower the friction. People want to say yes. And if you're having to really work to make the sale, then chances are maybe you haven't built a good enough product. Maybe you haven't created enough desire for that. Maybe you haven't created enough free value in the marketplace so that you have people coming to you and asking, hey, bro, what are you selling? Like, how do I work with you? How do I go deeper? And so many people are focused on this idea of influence and persuasion and like, I just need to get somebody over the line. I can get anybody over the line. But if they don't know you, yeah, maybe you need to be a badass salesman to get them over the line. But instead, we all have 24 hours in a day. Most of us only have, let's face it, 12 to 14 working hours. Now, if you're younger, there's a lot of dudes still doing 16, 18 hours a day. And there's some people that they can do that sustainably. But for a lot of people, if you'll focus on the bigger things that really move the needle and create the leverage, if you'll focus instead on creating a really good product, because then if you get that in a few people's hands, they'll sell it for you because you'll get referrals. And then you don't really have to sell it because you have people that love your product so much, they will sell it for you. Think about Apple, right? Apple users sell for Apple. Apple doesn't even need to advertise. They do advertise, but they almost don't really need to. It's interesting. I don't know how many people out there have seen a really famous presentation Steve Jobs did. I think it was in 1997. And he had just come back to Apple, and he talks about Apple, and he was like, everybody else is out there, and they're selling hard drive size, RAM, pixel speed, whatever. But then you think about a company like Nike. And they don't sell that. Nike sells something different. They sell a feeling. They sell community. They sell being part of something. They sell potential. That we all know you have more potential in your soul, in your spirit. And when you put those shoes on, you feel a certain way. You feel, I'm a part of this. I'm tapping into that potential. I'm doing this. And you just do it. So he goes on to say, and he's like, the world is really busy. And we don't get a chance for people to remember very much about us. And so Apple is a brand of values. And we want to really have core values that we stick with. And those don't really change a lot over time. And this is similar to things that I tell people, is that your core values don't change a lot over your lifetime. I don't think they do. For some people, if you go through a major thing, they may, like if you're a soldier and you go serve in a war and you go through a really traumatic experience, your values may change. But chances are your values don't change that much. Chances are it's the rules of your values that really change. It's the rules and how you meet those values that change. So I'll give you an example. In my 20s, my highest value was freedom. And I had all these rules for how I would meet freedom. And today, my highest value is still freedom. But how I meet those rules is entirely different, radically different. Now, I associate discipline with freedom. Now, I associate keeping my commitments with freedom. Now, I associate all of these things with freedom that I didn't before. So the values haven't changed, but how I meet them has changed. And that's when you really internalize what your values mean in a deeper level. Then you start acting and your behaviors reflect that accordingly. So to circle this back to Steve Jobs, because I don't want to leave that hanging here, he, in that campaign, that was the Think Different campaign. And so they ran a very famous commercial. If you haven't watched it, I would highly suggest go out to YouTube and especially watch the Steve Jobs narrated version of Think Different. It's beautiful. And to sum it up, Apple said that we believe that people with passion can change the world. And it's the people. Now, I'll summarize this because I can't remember it exactly. But it's the people who believe they can change it. It's the crazy ones that do. And so that was kind of the crazy ones. That commercial, if you've ever heard it, here's to the crazy ones. The square pegs in a round hole. And it's beautiful. And I'm trying to tie all this back to how people are living and their behaviors and really what they're doing in social media, because it's so easy to get caught up and allow the rules for your values to be dictated by everyone else. And it's so easy. So I'll give another story. Tyler's on here still, maybe. I don't know if he is or not, but he came to me and we were both watching a certain individual a little bit. He was blowing up online. And this guy was talking about how, if you can't fight, everybody needs to go learn to fight. Every man. And it's easy to fall into, man. It's a sexy message, and it's easy for people to be like, oh, I'm going to go learn how to do this. And I fell into it for a second. But then I stepped back and I was like, what's better than knowing how to fight? Paying bodyguards. What's better than any of that? Being able to not be around any place that you need to fight, because you can insulate yourself with skill sets and money and capability. And if you'll do those things, then you don't have to worry about learning how to fight. Like, that is an absolute waste of time for 99.9999% of men in their 30s. By the time you get to your 30s, if you haven't done some stuff, chances are your 30s can be some of the best years of your life. And they're also the time where if you stick with it and you start building and you do, like I was saying, you're leveraging social media, but not for the short term of like, oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to learn to close people that don't even want to be closed. But you can learn to build a set of skills, one after the other, in a unique skill set, because we all have unique things and nobody else can do them the way that we can. And when you do those things and you package all that together, well, then you become untouchable. You become untouchable and unbreakable, because the rest of your life, you're going to have value. People are always going to want to be around you. They're always going to want to hire you. They're always going to want to have relationships with you. And why is that? Because somebody, when you're in your 30s, if you'll do that, it may take a few years. But look, everybody I work with, I want them to make a lot of money. So I heard somebody say the other day, and it was basically like, you know what, I think it was a CEO of Spotify. And I think they made, and I don't know the year that this was done, so I'll just say last year, but I think they might have made like $2 or $3 billion. But their users on their platform made 100 billion. Let me say that again. They made 2 to 3 billion. So 20-30%. But their users made 100 billion. So I say that to say that, yeah, they got wealthy off it, but the amount of wealth that they created in total vastly exceeds the wealth that they made. And so that's your goal as a person. As a person, your goal is to bring that sort of value to your life and to other people. And when you do that, then, guys, I don't know how to do these what's up thing. these little thumbs up are crazy. When you learn how to add that value, people always want you around. Well, why is it? Because they're like, hey, man, I know I can take an opportunity to Caitlin or whatever, and we're both going to make a lot of money. We're both going to do that because you learn to not be greedy. You learn to just add so much value. So those are the people that are untouchable. Those are the people that you're never going to miss out because you've just decided to be a man of value. You've decided to be somebody that brings and adds value to the world in whichever way that may be, because there's so many different avenues. I was talking about this on another live that there's so many ways that people get rich. It's just unbelievable. But there's really only a few ways that people lose all their money and stay poor. And I may write another book on that one, or a book on that. That may be my next book. But if I had to summarize it all the way down, I would really just say they're not taking the behaviors necessary to get where they want to go. And we could dissect that way further, attitude, mindset, blah, 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 all these things that cause people to sabotage. But the ultimate and end result of all of that is really their behaviors don't reflect the behaviors of somebody that gets the result. And oftentimes it's not as complicated. It's actually unsexy. It's unsexy because oftentimes it's just doing the things that other people are unwilling to do. It's being unreasonable about it. And so I'll give you another example because you've got this sort of this movement online, and especially you've got a lot of coaches on Instagram and other platforms. And one second here. You've got these coaches on all these other platforms, and they're telling people, they're like, dude, if you're not working out and you're not doing these 5-hour morning routines and, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. You're just a piece of shit. Like, bro, shut the fuck up. You've got all these coaches telling men to do a bunch of things that aren't congruent with getting and designing the life that they want to have. So you got people running around pursuing things that is not germane to really building themselves in the life that they're going for. So, I do think working out's important. I think if you've never been sub 10% body fat as a man, I think you owe it to yourself. Go get sub 10%, man. Your confidence, even if you pop back up to 15, 20% after that, your confidence will go through the roof because you'll be like, I did something. I really did something hard. But here's the kicker. You don't have to stop everything else to do something like that. Like, you don't have to stop doing all the cool, stuff that you want to do, because you can get sub 10% body fat through discipline and 45 minutes, maybe an hour a day, 6 days a week. And a lot of guys don't want to hear that because they have a lot of excuses. But truthfully, it's, hey, just eat the right meals, wake up with a little bit of cardio, whatever else it may take, depending on where you're at, and then get that workout in. Get that workout in. Give me 1 second, guys. Thank you. Oh, just toss it. No. Just set it down. No, you're fine. I had a water delivery, guys. My throat was super parched here. Give me 1 second. Oh. Whew. That was... Sometimes you get to talking and, I just went on the Bradley podcast and he just walked in the room. He was like, "You ready to go?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess so." And I forgot to grab a water. Man, my mouth was so dry halfway through. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to talk. It was fun. It was a great time though. Back to what I'm saying. It doesn't take all that much for you to hit some big things. It just takes some discipline. And I know it's that D word that nobody likes to hear, but it just takes that. And it's just following the behavior over time. I mean, for most guys, depending on where you're at, 3-4 months, you can get it. If not, if you're, got way more fat, etc., it might take you a year, but so what? Do something big with your life. You're going to die. Something's going to happen. So go for it. At least at one point, you'll have a chance to look back when you're 60 years old. And I'll tell you this, if you get sub 10% body fat, dude, hire a badass photographer and take some pictures. Do a bunch of photo shoots because you'll always be able to look back and be like, dude, I did this. But once you do that one thing, you'll always look back and you'll be like, I can do it again. And what else can I do? And how can I do it bigger? Now, I'm sort of digressing here because you got all these coaches online, again, like I say, and they're directing people around to do a lot of things that aren't helping them actually elevate their life in a lot of ways. And they get them caught up in spending forever on morning routines and doing a lot of stuff that doesn't actually take their unique skill set into account. For instance, they'll be like, "Bro, just post content like crazy." And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe. But if you just post content like crazy, but you don't actually develop some strategy around it, if you don't do the other things, if you don't have strategy, if you don't hop in the right boat, you're screwed. Warren Buffett famously said he went to school and he was in college. And he had his his best friend, and they got out together, and his best friend went off and did his thing, and Warren, of course, did his thing, and his best friend made a lot of money, and Warren says, hey, he was smarter than him. Now, who knows? That's just Warren, but what he reflected on after 30, 40 years is he was like, you know what I learned is being in the right boat is far more important than how hard you row. And he looked at it and he was like, I've worked hard, but I bet my friend worked just as hard or harder. And there's a lot of people out there, hardworking Americans, that's exactly what they're doing. They're working hard, but because they're not in the right boat, because they haven't identified the opportunity that is best suited to them, and they haven't done a constraint system process to actually whittle down, like, hey, I think I want to go do this, and it sounds good. It's like, I just want to help people. Dude, I get people message me this all the time. Well, bro, I just want to help people. And I'm like, okay, well, how? Like, what are you delivering? What sort of life do you want to have? And they're like, oh, I don't care about the money, whatever. And I'm like, okay, if you want to lie to yourself, that's fine. Maybe you don't care about the money per se, but you know what? A lot of people don't like not having money. They don't like the arguments. They don't like coming home, staying awake at night because they can't pay their bills, because they're stressed out. They don't like feeling like they're not playing to their potential. They don't like those things. And I don't like that feeling myself at all. And so it's easy to get praise from other people, though. And it's easy to say these things and get positive feedback, like, oh, I just want to change people. And people are like, oh, you've got such a great heart and a great mission. And it's like, okay, bro, if that's really your mission, then actually do it. Like, put some action behind those words. And action oftentimes is like, do a constraint process. You want to help people? Well, how can you help people in a big way? What are you uniquely qualified to do? If you're not uniquely qualified, what do you think you would like to do? And then how can you start building the skill sets to get there? So I'm kind of circling back around all of this because obviously it's frustrating watching a lot of people go in circles because they hop from one coach to another coach to another coach, or another guru to another guru to another guru, and they're all telling them, hey, do this one thing. And it's like, man, not everybody is suited to being a speaker on stage. Not everybody is suited to, being Mr. Beast. Not everybody is suited for that. But that doesn't mean that you are not uniquely suited to do something awesome with your life, to do something great. But part of that is identifying where you have that unique skill set and that unique potential, and then building those skills and maximizing it. And I think, man, that's so important. We need so much more of that in life. If you read my book, you understand, like, it's really, I cover a lot of things in there, and I've struggled to learn how to succinctly deliver it to people, because it's partly just about acceptance. So you feel good about yourself, first of all, and you're not stuck in FOMO all the time. But then it's also, Ed Mylett talks about this, being blissfully dissatisfied. And it's being blissfully dissatisfied where you're like, dude, I am great. And I'm going to show the world that I'm great. And I'm going to show my friends that I'm great. And I'm going to show my mom and dad that I'm great. And I'm going to show my kids that I'm great. Because you are. But if you don't actually be great, if you don't take the actions, if you don't start being that person, at some point, we're all going to die. So that sounds a little melancholy, but it's true. And so you have to identify, and the earlier that you can identify what you're uniquely suited for, how you're going to express that greatness, well, the faster you can do it, the better you can do it. So anyways, all this started off with me going to social media and being like, man, I think it's this this beautiful tool, and I see so much awesome stuff on there, which I really, I love. And it breaks my heart because I see so many other people, and their social media is just this source of misery and this source of pain. And so, if you're doing that and you're like, man, I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I'm missing out all the time. Man, it's okay. Like you don't have to be missing out. You're not. Where you're missing out is when you're not present and you're not having gratitude day to day, and you're not, I think where a lot of people are missing out is that they go to bed disappointed with themselves repeatedly, and that slowly erodes their self-confidence and their belief in themselves and their belief that they can keep their word to themselves. And pretty soon they don't feel good about themselves, especially when they're with themselves. And so then they turn to social media to make them feel good, or other things. There's plenty of other things to turn to out there. And they turn to these things to make themselves feel good. But it's a way of escaping reality. It's a way of escaping the darkness that we have as men, and especially as men. So I almost titled my book, All Men Go to Hell, Only He Will Return. Because as men, we will. Like, if we don't do something, dude, we end up in a dark spot. And it's our duty to become our own hero. It's our duty to climb out of that hell. And that's the journey. That's the journey, bro. It's the journey to identify these things. And the journey is not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be casual. It's not meant to be comfortable. It's certainly not meant for you to not grow. Because after all, change is automatic. Progress is not. I think it was Tony Robbins who said that. I don't want to knock off a quote and not quote somebody. But I think it was Tony Robbins. So that's important. It's important to admit to yourself, if you're going to sleep, if you're scrolling on your phone, you're looking and you're like, I'm not satisfied. Because you know you can be doing more. You know you can be more. It's okay to be blissfully dissatisfied. I enjoy my life. Man, I love my life. I think I've lived one of the coolest lives out there so far, at least by my estimation. I've done some wild things, at 35 years old that most guys, they will talk about and they will dream about till the day they die. And, that's a tragedy, but it is what it is. And I've had the opportunity to do really cool things in life. And, it hasn't always been easy, hasn't always been great, but I've had a great life. Like, I had an awesome life, and I'm having a great life right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm not blissfully dissatisfied. That doesn't mean that I don't want to do more. I'll tell you a story. I was talking with my mom the other day, and this may have been several months ago. And I was like, man, I want to go see some walruses. And I'm not talking about like in a zoo, bro. I'm like, I want to go see some walruses. I want to go see some lions. I want to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Why? Because I can. Because I've been blessed with this life on this planet, and I'm talented. I've got 2 legs. I've got 2 arms. I'm very capable. And there's so many of us that we get in a rut. We get stuck in this game of playing small. And so that's all we do. We play small, and we end up not going to do the things that we, as kids, if you think about as kids, you were probably like, oh man, I want to go see some tigers. or I want to see polar bears, or, you were fascinated with these things. And then slowly we just erode all of that, that zest for life, the beauty. And I think, man, if you'll have that curiosity, if you'll have that zest for life in that manner, well, life can get really cool again. And then you can start setting those goals. You can be like, all right, well, I got to do some big things in my business. Well, that means you got to do some big work on you, because for most guys, if they want to take their business to the next level, that requires them actually taking themselves to the next level. That means you have to be a better leader. That means you have to learn different skill sets. You have to learn a whole different skill sets, because what got you here ain't going to get you there. And so you're like, okay, but I need something I'm doing this for. Because for most people, it's not enough to just be like, oh, I just want to add some zeros. Most people have a number. Maybe it's 1 million, maybe it's 5, maybe it's whatever. Most people have a number, and then they get comfortable and they stop dreaming. And they're like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good here. And they're doing pretty good being, as they perceive, a big minnow in a small pond. And that comes from not getting out enough. That comes from not exploring the world enough. And so it's easy to get satisfied like that. It's easy to get comfortable. And guys, I've been there. So I'm not sitting here trying to preach and not include myself in these things, because I have been there so many times. It's so easy to get comfortable. It's so easy to slack off. It's so easy to do these things. And I'm not one of those guys who's like, bro, just grind. Like, I am not that. And I see a lot of people out there that are like that, and they're like, oh, you just got to grind. I'm like, dude, if people saw my day to day, they might be amazed, because, I think it was like Warren Buffett who said he read like 8 hours a day. And I think he made a comment a few years ago. He's like, yeah, in my old age, I've slacked off. I'm only reading about 5 hours a day now. Where would you be if you read 8 hours a day for the next year? Now, most people can't do that realistically. But where would you be if you listened to 2 hours of an audiobook every day for the next year? Because you got 2 hours, whether you're driving, whether you're working out, whether you're going for a walk, you got 2 hours a day. You got 2 hours in that time. Where would you be? You don't even know. You have no idea. Because most people, they spend that time distracted with little things or with little addictions. Politics is one for a lot of people. They get distracted, and that's their that's their vice. So of course they live and get caught up focusing on the uncontrollables, and they fail to control the controllables in their life. You hear me on that? They're not controlling the controllables, and all they're doing is focusing on the disempowering things of things they can't control. But of course, they get validation from it. Man, I can't tell you how many people I know with this. They get so much validation from talking about what's going on in the world or talking about whatever. And I'm like, how's that helping you? Let me ask you, how's that worked out over the last 5 years for you? If you're not, if that's not part of your job, if that's not part of what you're passionate about, maybe you're passionate about it. But if you're really passionate about it, how are you doing something to change it? What part are you playing? So I think for a lot of people, I think it's a distraction. I think it's just something that people allow that ultimately ends up controlling a lot of their life. And it takes till they get to the end, man. And they look back and they're like, man, I got so upset about a lot of stuff. But what did I do? What did you do? if somebody outside of you had to come and all your friends were to talk about the things that you did over the last decade, what would they say about you? Would they say, hey, you know, Johnny's living at a high level, he did all this stuff? Or would they say, yeah, he did a lot of talking. He liked to watch all the stuff. He liked to live vicariously through the electronics, but he wasn't really living, man. I don't know, something to think about. Something to think about. Guys, it's getting late here. I appreciate you joining, whoever's on there. I can't even see who's on Facebook. I don't know how I can. Oh, hey, what's up, Mr. Cox? If he's still on, I don't know if this is. Who knows? New setup, guys. We'll figure it out. Appreciate you watching. If you have, this is my Thursday night little shindig, and I think I'm going to try to make these a little bit more consistent. Maybe start them in the morning, something like that, and maybe make them a little shorter, a little more digestible. But it's fun. But guys, let's just remember, we got one life here. And if you're going to bed and if you're dissatisfied with yourself, if you don't really feel great about your life, it's never too late to change your direction. You can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. I think it was Jim Rohn who said that one. So just think on it. Just sleep on it and maybe consider a few of those things. So appreciate you tuning in, everyone. Be great.